As relief, she didn't like to host them in her own flat. Rachel always said home was her sanctuary, and the last thing she wanted to find when she woke up was a kitchen full of empty bottles and a floor full of strangers. Penny and Rachel went to several parties together, while Georgina stayed home, happy for the peace and looking forward to the stories when they returned. She always got the tea and toast ready when she heard the key fumbling at the front door. Her flatmates often joked and called her Cinderella, but they had it wrong. She was simply far happier with a book and a big armchair than she was with a crowd and a dance floor. In fact, she'd worried for months about this day of social niceties with people she didn't know, but in the end, the wedding breakfast had been no problem at all. Penny had seated her with the singles and oddballs. Fortunately, the table was full of geeks who loved talking about their subject area, and throughout the dinner she made a willing audience for them. Today had found her sitting next to a philosophy lecturer, and the whole table joined in a lively conversation about the obsolescence and therefore the need to eradicate binary values in society. Good versus evil, and male versus female. She very much doubted any other table was having a conversation like this, but Georgina could have spent all night listening to the debate. Despite their geekiness, she noticed as she was leaving that even her fellow diners seemed to have found partners by the end of the evening. She was happy for them too. As she reached the door, a member of staff approached her with a bottle of champagne. "Courtesy of the hotel," he said, "as this is the first wedding since our renovations." Georgina opened her mouth to say that she didn't really drink, but stopped herself, as Rachel would probably enjoy it. Instead, she thanked him and walked out into the grounds. It had been a beautiful summer day with the most perfect blue skies and hawthorn blossom providing the backdrop to the photographs. The weatherman had said there was a storm coming, but now was the calm beforehand, and the night air was welcomingly fresh as Georgina left the noise of the celebration behind and walked onto the terrace. A mature woodland, vast lawns and glistening lake stretched out before her. Georgina could see how anyone with a Jane Austen fixation, as Penny did, would pick this place for their wedding. It was very Pride and Prejudice. She checked her watch. It was midnight, and the waxing moon, full of folklore and new beginnings, was so close to full it cut through the darkness and lit a magical pathway across the lawn down to the water's edge. It really had been a picture-perfect day from start to finish. Filled with the happiness that good days bring, Georgina pulled her pashmina close around her shoulders, kicked off her shoes, and started walking across the lawns, cool and damp with the evening dew. Georgina mused that the new lovers, wrapped around each other in small corners of the hotel, had really missed a trick. Here, outside, in all the majesty of Mother Nature, that's where the memories would be made tonight. The weight hit her like a tombstone toppling onto a grave, knocking her to the ground and crushing her chest. In a blur of time that could only have been seconds, she realized it was not rock, but human. She pushed against it, but the harder she fought, the greater the force holding her down. A cork popped, and liquid was being poured down her throat and over her face. She had to swallow quickly to stop herself drowning in it. She coughed and spluttered as it overwhelmed her airways. Then a large gloved hand gripped both of hers tightly, while the other ripped the pashmina from her, pushed it over her face, and held it down tightly. "You and I are going to have a party, aren't we?" The hand pressed down harder, and she gagged on the fine fibres that found their way down her airways, but gasped for air between dry tears and a frantic nod of submission. "I'm going to die," her mind screamed as she lay, too terrified to move, her entire body frozen to the core. The hand that had rendered her voiceless was now at the hem of her dress, pulling it upwards. It reached her underwear and started tearing at it. Georgina grasped at every ounce of courage she had and tried to knee the body in the groin, as she'd always thought she would do in a situation like this. Her efforts were futile, like a child smacking a naughty toy. Her legs were pulled apart, and she could feel the body pulling at its own clothes as it readied itself for attack, and, knowing that there was nothing now she could do, Georgina bit down on the pashmina and lay still. More than anything else right now, she wanted to live. She wanted to survive this. She focused on the pocket of air that was reaching her lungs like a lifeboat drifting at sea.